I would tell any young girl that what do they want to do 5 years from now? Whatever that thing is, begin today. Begin today to do those things that will get you to that place.
Hello and welcome to the Three Guys podcast, hosted by Brian, Derek, and yours truly, Brett. What's going on, guys?
How you doing?
Not too
Good
bad.
evening.
Brian, top 5 guys or women
Even
that
more.
would be billionaires that are not with us today. You talk about this all the time.
All right, yeah, God, I do. So in no particular order, I don't know why I was thinking about him earlier this week, but Kurt Cobain for sure, Tupac, Eazy-E, Biggie, all those rappers. I forget his name. I should know the guy who played the Joker, the actor.
Heath Ledger.
Heath Ledger. He'd be huge.
So you have Kurt Cobain, Tupac, Heath Ledger, Biggie, Eazy. That's 5. You got a 6th one too in the back pocket?
No, but I look at those guys who, if you look at someone like Kurt Cobain, and he basically brought in an entire different kind of music. Whether you listened to him or not, you knew who he was. So I don't know, maybe billionaire is a high level, but he'd be close, that's for sure, with his talent and creativity.
I mean, a billionaire. That's a next level. That's not even a millionaire. We're talking Gates. Bezos. And we're talking that's a significant amount of money. I don't think any individual artist would have reached the billionaire status. That would be.
What would you think Kurt Cobain would be involved in?
Well, think about Kim Kardashian's a billionaire. So, and now granted, she has several businesses that she has going on, but you think about
the Kurt Cobain clothing line.
No, not necessarily, probably. But you think about where he was in terms of bringing something new to an industry and introducing a whole different kind of music to a whole generation.
Yeah.
So he really brought that. Now again, maybe he's not going to be a billionaire, but he would be at the level of Jay-Z. Why not? He made, whether it's having his own record label, whatever it may be, but he led that band.
Is Jay-Z a billionaire?
I think he just hit it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, if he can be a billionaire, I don't see why those other guys couldn't.
Yeah, it's something easy. We should be able to attain it one day.
This podcast just soars.
Yeah. And it really soars. And I mean, like, skyrockets.
Maybe those coffee mugs will get us there, Brian.
Yeah, we got our merch listeners, so keep an eye out for our merchandise.
Brian will be selling at the beach during the summer.
Well, speaking of beach, the weather's been phenomenal this week.
Yeah, it's just started getting nice up here. You get the wind off the water. It's a little different.
Yeah, I always joke with my friends out in California that during the first 3 months of the year, how tough it is here. And it's funny when you go out to California and they're all wearing hats and mittens when it's 60. And they know who I'm talking about. So, but it's so nice for it to be the sun to be out. And I was outside today, I think at 4 or 5, and it was like a summer day. And the spring growing up, I always felt was my favorite part of the year. But when's the last time we've had a spring? I feel like it goes from winter till summer. Maybe we are going to get a spring this year. That would be really cool.
Yeah, I think the weather we've had now is probably one of the better springs that we've had so far, if this is considered spring.
But Brett, you're close to New York, so your weather changes. I mean, I know you're on the water, but the other day you said it was in the 60s, and it was like 50s and freezing up here.
Oh, yeah. The last couple of days have been, since Monday, it's been like mid-60s.
Yeah. We're not very, I mean, I know you're along the water too. So anyways, I think we can move on to our next guest.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Brian, you want to do a little of the introduction here?
Yeah, absolutely. So in the first few episodes, we sort of discussed what we were looking for to have on for a guest. And one of my personal desires to have someone on who brought a little bit of passion when it came to motivation and maybe creativity and really being super passionate about whatever it is they do. And obviously, I think everyone we have on are going to have high levels of that. And I can say with a lot of confidence that today's guest is going to bring that. And let me share with you a little bit about Dianne Tarpy. Dianne Tarpy is from Haverhill, where all three of us are from. She is an author who is late to the scene of poetry, having worked in the corporate telecommunications for various senior level positions over 30 plus years. In her role, she experienced firsthand the tragedy of 9/11 in New York City and the resulting aftermath and the restoration of the network. She's a community and family-faced leader, resident and hometown sports fan from Haverhill, where she's lived her entire life. As a wife, mother of 3, and nana to 8 beautiful grandchildren, she has lived long enough to experience life at its best and at its worst. She has 2 master's degrees, and she's a recipient of a number of awards at a national and local level of her work achieved and given back to the community which she lives and works. And I could go on and on and on. She really has so many great recognitions. So with
and a resume that makes 3 of us look ridiculously.
Yeah, I'm really excited to have her on. I can't wait.
Like we've accomplished nothing.
Yeah, I'd have to go back into school and try to go for like 10 degrees at this point in time.
Well, it's funny when you and I was going to tell this when she joins us, is when you ask for someone's information and they send you a couple of pages and you get to the second paragraph and you're so impressed by just the second thing she shared with you. Like, I can't wait to have her on.
I'm going to let her in right now so she can speak for herself and give you her story.
Hi, Dianne.
Hello, Brian.
Well, welcome to the 3 Guys podcast with, of course, myself, Derek, and Brett.
How are you doing, Dianne?
I am doing well. Thank you very much.
Welcome, Dianne.
Oh, there you go. Now we see you.
Yeah.
Yes. I didn't have that little button push. That's
So I think, Dianne, you're so far of our first couple of guests, you're the first one to figure out how to actually get the camera working.
Oh, no kidding. Oh, well, that's good. I'm happy to hear that.
So check.
Yeah. I don't know if our other guests wanted to be seen. I think that might have been the problem.
That might have been it.
Yeah.
I spend a lot of time on Zoom, so it doesn't bother me to be seen. So I'm used to that.
So
Awesome.
Dan, we were just talking a little bit about your background and sort of where you've come from and what you're doing now. And we talked a little bit about, you and I have talked a little bit separately about what the show's all about and why we think you'd be a great guest for us and for our listeners. So really where we want to start is where we're all from. We're all from this great city of Haverhill, and you have a great connection here. So why don't we start there? Tell us a little about your connection to Haverhill.
Well, born and bred, lived in Bradford, and that's an important distinction. All my life.
Told you. I said this before.
People don't like that.
I put on our license, and people would say, that's not even a town. I said, yes, it was. They used to have their own high school, and they have their own fire department, but people don't listen.
Yep. People don't listen. You're absolutely right. But we do hope that they listen to us. So having said that, born and bred here all my life. I've lived here. Grew up on Hawthorne Street, right in Bradford. And in 1985, my husband and I built our house. I call it the Inn on Chadwick Road here in Bradford. So with that, went through all the Haverhill schools. The Peabody School that's on Salem Street, that's now a apartment building, was where I started kindergarten and first grade. And of course, went to Hunking and then also to Haverhill High School. So I have an affinity for my hometown. And no matter where I went, it was important to me that I gave back to Haverhill and where I lived and worked. And it's interesting because Verizon perpetuated that and was grateful. I was grateful to be able to have a huge benefit from the backing of Verizon with the work that I did in the community. And of course, all the community organizations love that because they, obviously I started, it was New England Telephone Company, had deep pockets. And so they love corporations that have deep pockets. All my kids went through the Haverhill school system. I often measure my success when I look at my kids and now my grandchildren, to be perfectly honest with you. I would tell you that my oldest son is with a network security firm, and he's a big computer guru. He's the one that actually did my website for me. Then my middle son, Eric, is a deputy fire chief in town. And then my baby, if you will, Melissa, is the girls varsity coach at Haverhill High School. So all my kids have been born giving back to the community. They still do. That makes me very proud because I think that in our own way, we have made a difference. And that's what many of us hope to do, is it not? To make a difference.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it seems like you've absolutely done that throughout this pandemic. And I mean, there's like just reading through your website and the resume and some of the stuff that you spoke on. I think the one of the thing that hit me is you wrote, like, I want to be very honest with you right now. It wasn't until I actually looked at my resume to really realize how much stuff I've accomplished and what I've done and where I've been, which is amazing. So, congratulations on that.
It is amazing. And I think that even when I retired, I didn't really retire, but how often do you go back and look at your resume? Right.
Yeah.
So it was just because in this whole pandemic, I look for silver linings in life. And my book certainly was one of my silver linings, because it did gave me that space for the magic that was required in order to write. Well, looking in that resume was no different. And I thought how grateful I was that you guys asked me to join you. First of all, to be the first woman. You'd think that I wouldn't recognize that. I certainly had to bring that up. So I am proud to stand on the shoulders of all that came before me doing different things, to be here and be the first woman for you to be able to interview. But looking at that resume and looking back at it, and I want you to know that I actually started at a telephone company in 1966, but I took 11 years off to raise my kids. And I started my resume in 1985, I think was when I gave it to you. I think that's where it starts, in the 80s. So it was like, wow, I've been at this a long time. And then when I watch and I look at the stuff, and one thing built on another, and then another. And then before it, my circle was wide. It got wider and wider. And I thought, gosh almighty, I didn't realize how much I actually did, because I was so busy doing it. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think I saw a 9X in there, and I hadn't heard of that for a long, long time.
Well, actually, it was New England Telephone, then it was 9X, and then it was Bell Atlantic, and Verizon.
Verizon, right?
Now. Yeah.
I mean, Dianne, I have to be truthfully honest. When I read your resume, I thought to myself, I haven't accomplished anything in my life.
Oh,
I mean, I could combine it with Brian's and Brett's, and I don't mean to speak for them, but they'll tell you, I don't. It doesn't even compare. I was like, I felt like I got to back outside and just recollect and think what I need to do in my life again, because it was astonishing. It was that great, And I'm not.
How nice.
No. And you're saying it's a pleasure to be on here. It's a pleasure to have you.
Yes.
You're making us better by having you on here. So any way we can, obviously market that and help market the book and all the things that you've accomplished, then, that's what that's what we want to hear a little bit more about. I'm intrigued by, there's a number of different things. So I'm sure we're going to jump around here a lot.
All right. I can jump around with you. I can do that.
Yeah. We'll have a little fun here. Right.
I'm all in.
So the book.
Yeah. The book.
Was this something that you kind of hinted to it a little bit about during the pandemic, but had you thought about this before, or even as like a kid growing up? Did you ever think about writing?
No. I will tell you that I was always been a reader. From my earliest age, I remember going to the Bradford Library, and during the summer especially, I would walk back with as many books as my arms would hold that they'd let me take out. So I've always been a reader. So that reading just helped me be a very good writer. And, with some of my educational achievements that I literally went very late in life, that I did those. You have to write theses for your master's and that. And I found I was very, very good at writing. And I didn't realize that was such a strength. So once you realize that, it all of a sudden becomes something that was very easy and I was very good at. So what happened during the pandemic, and it's really just about a year ago at this time, really, when we think about it, right, was that it gave me that space to actually sit and to be able to think and to be able to write. I first started writing because for my own selfish need to do something, right? Mm-hmm. As you can see, I'm not used to doing nothing. That's not in my DNA. I'm always one that wants to be either doing or giving or being part of something. And that brings me great joy. And so for the first time to have that, I started writing. And the more I wrote and the more I shared, the more I realized that people loved it. And I'm like, wow, they like me. They like me. It's like with that little thing, right? I can't believe it. And they kept writing. They would write back comments and likes and loves and So everything I reply, I reply with love. So, a little love on Facebook, because I like people it's the transference of all that love and belief in each other, and thought that I could make a difference. And now I've got to the point, to be perfectly honest with you, that people are writing things like even some private notes about that I'm making their day, and that they look forward to my words, and that it helps them be more positive in what they're doing. And I'm all of a sudden, now I have a big responsibility here. It's like, oh,
you absolutely do.
Because of what they're saying. But
I think there was one thing that really, I read through like some of the reviews of the book. Sorry to cut you off, but I thought this was huge of the things that you are writing, what people need to hear. The person said, do not put this book on the bookshelf. Leave it on the coffee table, leave it somewhere on the kitchen table, so you have access to it at all times. So if you're feeling down, you're not feeling that good that day, like you're going through something at all, jump in the book and read it.
You know what, Brett, I don't mean to cut you off, but we might want to, because she did flash it in front, and I don't think we discussed what the name of the book was.
Okay.
And what she can tell us the name of the book, and she can tell us what exactly the book is about, what she, what words she does, and how the poetry. I think that'd be great.
Well, the name of the book is From the Heart, and it's words of hope and inspiration to soothe your soul. And that's really what I started out doing, soothing my own soul. And then before I know it, more and more people, as I mentioned, were supporting me to write more. And so that's how it came to be. And the picture on the front, I actually took that picture, and I took it at Brown's, Brown's.
Oh, yeah. Derek knows right where that is.
Yeah. It's right down the street from me.
That's okay.
So Dianne, we got to be brutally honest. We have another professional photographer among the four of us. And
Which one?
Mr. Brett.
No.
Oh, really?
No, I'm not. Don't let him lie. I'm an amateur with photography. But that's an awesome picture there.
Yeah, that is a great picture. Well,
I took this with my iPhone. It was my grandson Tyler.
Really?
Yeah,
wow.
I took it. It was his birthday, and it was he and his girlfriend and I at Brown's. And it was that was the night, July 3rd, a year ago, on his birthday day, I decided I was going to write a book. My Tyler said, you should write a book, Nana. I said, okay, all right, I'm going to do it. And this picture was so good. I said, and I'm going to use this picture on the book. So then I have a friend down in Tampa, Florida, who does Susanna Books, who does covers and does formatting. So she did my cover and she did my formatting. So,
yeah, and you're very resourceful in like how you accomplished everything.
I can't believe it sometimes.
I know, isn't
it? Just goes to show.
You got to give the pat on your shoulder.
You got to take a step back and enjoy it.
Absolutely.
It's sort of like reading my resume. It was the same thing. For the first time, I stopped long enough.
Let's go back to your resume. And with all seriousness, it's an incredible, very impressive resume. And the one thing I look at is all your leadership positions that you've had within Verizon. And I work with Verizon with what I do, and they're such a huge company.
Yes.
So touch a little bit about your experience, what you learned in some of those positions, things that you would share to people like us three that are growing within our own careers. If you don't mind, touch on a couple of things.
I started in 1966. The night of my prom was when I started training, believe it or not. So that had to be like in May, right? And I was a directory assistance operator. And at that point in time, we had books, and we used to each operator had a position, and we used to give numbers out, and from they'd come and drop right into our bays there, and we would look up the numbers. That was how you got into the telephone company. That was the entry level. And I actually got accepted to nursing school, and I was the oldest of 7. And my dad said, "You're going to the telephone company." I said, "Okay." Well, I was a little disappointed at first, but as it turned out, certainly it was a 34-year career that I absolutely loved. People believed in me before I even knew what my own strengths were. I learned that as long as you give people 100%, and you do all the right things and you show up. That's part of my Tarpy's top 10. You show up 9 times out of 10, you're going to be able to do what you achieve to do. Sometimes it's with help. Sometimes it's that you realize on your own that you can do things. But I persevere and I never give up. And I think that I just had enough bosses. And as I went through my career, and I did so many different things on the telephone company, it was just before I retired that I thought to myself, how did I ever get here to the 41st floor at 1095 Avenue of the Americas in New York, looking out that 40th floor boardroom and thinking to myself, I've come so far. In a way, you don't realize it. Again, I go back to it because you're so busy doing it, you don't realize. But it was a wonderful company for me. And I started at that entry level and I just kept going up. And I'll tell you, they kept promoting me. And it was one of those things that you apply for jobs, you don't even realize that they've made the job for you already. And so it was like, okay, would you like this job? I said, I'd love this job. So I just had enough good people who had faith in me, and I worked hard. I did everything I was expected. I did the easy things. I did the hard things. I continually looked to educate myself. If I didn't know it, I wanted to learn it. I believe that if you have a good attitude, that your bosses and your leaders will do the right things for you, and that you learn it along the way. And I think that the promotions are earned. The backing and support of leaders is certainly something that once you gain that, it's almost like you can write your own ticket once you have those people in place. And it's all about relationships. One director would give me jobs that would put me in a place where I would see the vice presidents then obviously are the ones that make key decisions. And I ended up catching the eye of some vice presidents that gave me great opportunities. And I can't say enough about what I felt about Verizon.
I think that's the really good thing when people recognize your efforts and like how hard you're working. Do you feel when you were started off like right out of high school, when was it, at what point, like, did you always have that motivation? Did you always have that perseverance when you were in middle school? Or was it something as like you went along and as you started accomplishing things, you were like, okay, I need to do this to get to where I want to get to?
I was always the jock, believe it or not. I was always the one that was the captain of the sports, any sport I played in. So I believed in team. All that early on was easy for me. And I think when you believe in team and business, that you can get far. When you believe in people, people will then do for you. And you create a network. I had people all over not only the United States, but we had some international work because of the work I was doing, that you set your reputation, and your reputation precedes you. When you do all those right things, when you care about the people, and when you don't make it about you, take yourself out of the center of the story and make it about what is it we need to focus on, what is it we need to achieve. And I don't care what the goal is. I don't care if it was the work I was doing at Verizon, is it the work I'm doing on the boards that I sit today? All of those things still hold true and stand the test of time, that with the right attitude, you can achieve anything.
Like, what point did you really recognize and think on that?
Yeah, probably not till I read my resume this week. I'm telling you, that was so eye-opening. I can't even fathom it. I think I was just so busy doing, and I knew that good performance would get me better positions. Better positions needed to have more education brought me to different certifications. I love getting certified in things, and I love learning.
I gotta tell.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in learning that never ends. So that's why, I just took an 11-week course on how to run a nonprofit board at Northern Essex a couple months ago. I believe in that. I love learning new things. I love reading. So when did I recognize it? Honest to God, I really can't even tell you a time that I did, because it was just one more thing. I'd always do, what's my next thing? What's my next thing? And I've just loved it all. So I don't know that I ever looked at myself as that. And leadership has always been important to me. Even when I was chairman of the board at the Chamber of Commerce, my platform was leadership, and I did a few things about leadership, women in leadership, and then leadership with Northern Essex by developing a course for them that some people that you might know have went through. But I mentioned, I think that after a couple of years, they had to cancel it because we couldn't get the funding for it. But leadership is important. I know a good leader when I see one, and I know a bad leader. And there's something to be learned from them both. So I've always felt in my own way that even if bad or good, I learn from every experience that I've ever had. So I always look for that silver lining, because somewhere there is one, even in bad situations or good. The good ones are easy to take. The bad ones, you say, what is it that I can do to either make this better or get myself out of the situation because I don't like what's happening. So you just look for the good and the bad, and you make it work. You find a solution.
So I saw that you were, I was reading that you were in New York during 9/11.
Yes.
How did that affect your life? And then how does that affect, did you incorporate any of that into your book?
I did write a poem. I have always, almost every year, written something, especially since Facebook. I mean, a lot of people don't like Facebook, but it gives us all a platform to be able to share words. Usually I have been writing every year about New York. That was a tough road to hoe. And again, there is a poem in this book about that. And it was one of those life-altering experiences that changed the trajectory a little bit of your life once you go through something like that. It was, without a doubt, I don't know, it made me stop and think that if I wasn't doing enough already, that my giving back was going to be what's important. And that the things that one might think were important after going through that experience were not important at all. It sort of aligns your thinking. It made me stop and think that about the fact that anything I did was going to be to give back to those either less fortunate or those who don't have the opportunities that I did. And they were going to be things that really float my boat, that pretty much I do, whether I get paid or not paid. That's not important to me. The money's not important to me. The ability to do good is what's important to me. And that's really now, these last few years, if I wasn't doing it before, that I worked very hard to do it now since 9/11.
Dianne, I have a question sort of about your overall experience, and maybe even touching a little bit about being in New York on 9/11. Do you think your experience, let me word this question the right way, do you think your experience with crisis management has helped you a little bit, whether it's with the pandemic or just other things that you go through? I mean, do you look at your experience in the corporate world, 9/11, or other things that you were involved in, help your ability to react and then stay on this journey that you're on now, writing books and being an author?
Yes. I would tell you that we learned early on in business continuity management that it's important to keep a level head. And it's funny, during that time frame, some people who I considered to be much smarter than I, much more technical than I, higher levels than I, could not take that pressure. And, I stood back and I thought, oh, what am I going to do to help these people? So I had a lot of functional authority. I was a second level manager, but I worked for a vice president. And because that function, we call it functional authority, it was essentially whatever I said was coming out of the mouth of the vice president. When I spoke for the vice president. So even though I was only a second level manager, that what I call functional authority really made a lot of stuff happen. So I helped those people that were having a hard time with it. And we settled in and we worked some long, hard, difficult days, getting everything back, getting Wall Street back, restoring Manhattan. They were days that started 5:30 in the morning and they literally ended 10, 11, 12 at night. for those first couple of weeks. Then they finally said, you can't be working these hours. So then we stopped it, and they were either 12 or 14 hours instead of, 18.
So were you actually in a city on that day?
I was at a diversity council meeting with John Bell, who was one of our vice president that actually ran the restoration of Manhattan. One of the best guys you'd ever want to meet, one of the most caring individuals, and one of those that I call the type of boss that you always want to have. He was one of those, and he had a lot of credibility, and he was well thought of. So that's why he actually ran the restoration of the network of Manhattan. But I was there at a meeting, and another director came in and said, "Oh, there's something happened. Something just happened with the World Trade Center," and the rest is history. And then I saw then you try to understand it all. And we saw the second plane hit. I actually saw that second plane hit out of the window. Now, that was like over in the financial sector. And again, I was at Avenue of the Americas. So we're far enough away, but we could see it.
Wow.
So then that day, it was an 8 o'clock meeting. I remember my son and my husband at 9:05. We had beepers then. Call me on my beeper.
Eric had a couple of those.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah. So then we just started, and we opened our emergency operating center, which was downstairs in the basement, and went till 2:30 that next morning. When I was trying to get a bus, I'll never forget it, trying to get a bus so that we could get our people into that area. We had no idea exactly what was happening. We were all trying to, of course, the other stuff that was happening too, in the other parts of the world were no easier. So then at 2:30, I actually got the bus, and then we called, and I called my boss, and I said, I got the bus. We can get the people in. And he said, the police are not letting us bring a bus in after all that. So I said, okay.
Right.
So I went to bed at 2:30, and 5:30, I was back there. So, and again, the rest is history, and all the things that we did were incredible and saw. And it was the first time that I've ever seen, it didn't matter what department you were in, whether you're in network operations or engineering, or you're in communications, or everybody worked together with a complete admiration for what each brought to the table, which I think was probably a spirit of cooperation that I don't know that I've ever seen since, understanding what was at stake and what had happened. So that was quite interesting to be part of that.
It's amazing. You can easily recollect everything that happened that day, and time frame. That's how much that whole day is etched in people's minds, and how it affected people going forward. And I think it's amazing that you could just recollect that without even batting an eye. It's not like you have to sit there and think. What happened, and how you reacted, and
you don't get that stuff.
No, you don't. And my brother, we visited that museum down there, and it took me, it was a wow moment because of what you see, and it took a whole day, and I left there just a changed person, just seeing what I saw. So I can only imagine being there the day of the event.
Have you got a chance to go there, Dianne, to see the memorial?
I have. It took a while, to be perfectly honest with you, and I can sit here and talk to you, and there was so many different things. I probably someday could write a book just on that. That it's sometimes I can't watch the stuff because it really is difficult. But I guess what you hold on to is the thought that I'll go back to, did I make a difference? Right? You go through that and you say, yeah, I did. So all of that is good. And, things like the fact that I remember I came home for the first time on September 28th because it was my son Greg's birthday, and Tyler was getting baptized. And it was the first time you should have seen people on a plane. And I had a woman that was across the aisle from me, and she takes my hand, and she was so afraid. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what I had just been through for the past, 28 days, however long, no, it wasn't 28 days, however long it was. And it was like, oh my gosh, everybody's affected, everybody. And so that was, once I realized that, because I was so self-contained in what I was doing, that you don't even realize what's happening in the rest of the world almost, because I was just so focused on what needed to happen and what we needed to do. So I had been short-sighted in that I didn't realize how bad it was for everybody else on the outside. So when that was eye-opening for me when I took that airplane ride home. But then I came back I'd leave on Friday and come back on Sunday. So the people at the Sofitel used to say, welcome home when I got there, because we had been there for so long, and they were wonderful to us. But it was an experience that, you live a lifetime sometimes and you'll never go through. So I'm happy to have played a role. I'm happy to have played my part. And it is something that changed me for sure.
Well, let's bring it to something like back to your book again.
Yeah. Light it up a little bit.
Yeah. So,
I mean, just so you know, Brian's the same way when he flies. He has to be close to me because he's nervous. I said, Brian, we can't do this.
Well, Dan, what's interesting, and it made me think of this because I was living in California, and we won't turn into this the way we were, but I was living in California, and Brett and Derek, I don't know if you remember this, but you guys came and visited me. Some of the first people that I saw after 9/11, because I was in New York, I was in California, I didn't know a ton of people, was these two guys. And I remember hugging you guys. I remember, the love that was people were showing to each other, to your poetry and some of the things that, we'll hopefully dive a little bit deeper into. I felt that after 9/11 for sure. But yes, I do sit as close to Derek as I can.
Well, that's nice. You're a good friend. I can tell all of you.
Yes.
Very uncomfortable close.
Yeah.
Is it safe to say that who you are as a person, like I know your daughter played basketball, she won a state championship, that, as a parent, like that support and that motivation and like what you bring in your everyday life and what you've done, that had to be like bring a big impact to like your children doing in their sports, in their everyday lives, it has to have affected them.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think so. I'm just as involved in my grandchildren's. So everybody knows Nana. All the kids know me. And I take very much pride in watching all the kids' progress, not just my grandchildren's, but and that's why I love my involvement with Haverhill Travel Basketball and also with Bradford Swim Club, because I get to see the progress that kids make year to year to year. And I've been there for so long that everybody knows me. And for them to be able to come up and say something to me or ask me for advice, or that sort of gives me a wonderful feeling. But I'd like to think that because my kids have followed our traditions and the things we do, like my kids were all lifeguards at Bradford Swim Club. Now my grandchildren are all lifeguards. They're going through the ranks. I've got one left. My Lily, that's 12 years old, that she can't be a lifeguard yet, but Haley and Kyle are, and all the ones before them were. So, there's so much we've given. And my husband was the president of the pool. Greg was president of the pool. My daughter-in-law is on the board. Melissa ran the snack bar. We do things when you get a Tarpy. When you get you get 15 Tarpies. So, that's what's good about us. And I own all the Tarpies. They're all mine. So if you need anything, you just call me. I'll get one of them. And
Tarpy.com.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm sure you keep them in check if someone gets out of line.
They're so good to me. I got them upstairs now. They redid our bathroom upstairs and they're in my bedroom, and they've done all the work. They put the spreadsheet together and planned it all out. They're up there now doing it. What more could one ask for?
Send them to 151 Brook when they're done over there, if you don't mind.
And they're good. They're very capable. They're all very capable.
So Dianne, you and I talked prior about you being author, obviously, but we talked about the fact that you are your own publisher. Yes. And my dad has been writing lately about his growing up in with his Armenian family and what he remembers from his earliest memories, I guess I'm trying to say. Anyway, I don't know how to publish it, but talk about what you've done and how you've kind of built your own platform, obviously at Facebook and the web, but just the actual book itself. Just talk a little bit about that.
Well, what I learned is if you enjoy reading, you can do anything. Well, so what I did was, once I decided that I was going with my friend, because she was the best price, to help me format it, I knew I wanted to be my own publisher. I read enough books out of that I took out of the library to say that if you can't be your own publisher. And I thought, okay, well, what do I need to do to be a publisher? Guess what, guys? You all could be a publisher. All you need is a number from the government saying that you an EIN number, and when you have that, you can set up a business and you can be a publisher. I learned more about ISDN numbers, which you have to have in order to for your books. They cost $125 a piece. I learned that if I bought 10, it would be $300. So I bought 10, knowing I was going to write more books. I learned everything by reading.
You learn by doing sometimes.
Yeah. And you know what? One of my mantras is do it before you're ready. You don't always have to be ready, and you don't always need to know it all. I know you guys probably putting this podcast together. There is so much you're learning, and you're still learning today. You'll still be learning a year from now when we talk again. And you will be so much better because of the experiences that you've had today. So that's how I am. I'm getting better because I'm learning more. I've learned that it's better off when you try to buy the author copies. Amazon.
The one I got is personally signed from you.
Yes, I know. I signed them.
Yeah. And then I got to tell you, the three of us, we like to keep our quality sort of in the middle. We never want to get too good, so we can just. We don't want to keep the expectations pretty in the middle.
Yeah. Very low expectations.
No, but having you on and some of these other guests are kidding aside, are pushing the needle. And so, Brett, you were going to talk earlier about one of the poems you liked. Which one did you particularly catch your eye?
So there was two, Dianne, that really, I think, hit home. One was Be That Person, and the other one was New Year 2021. The Be That Person, if the couple, just to quote a portion of it, be that person who listens to others, to those who know more, to those who have experience. Be that person who cares for those around you. You tackle a number of different topics in those few lines there. The person who listens, I feel that's something that I have to learn to get better at. And I recognize that. There's talking about drop your ego in there. There's a number of different things. Can you speak on a little bit like what made you write that and what
page was that on?
That was the poem it was on your website, Be That Person. It looks like it was January 2nd, 2021.
Okay, Be That Person. So that would have been right after New Year's. And, you always want to be that person. As we look in I think I was looking at over the new year, we got to 2021 and we got through 2020 and all that it offered us. I think I was probably thinking about, I wanted to be the one who always understands. It is the person who listens to those that know more than I about stuff. And as I was researching and going through all this, that's probably how that came up, because much I do is because I want to remind myself of stuff.
Yeah.
I write for me. I write from the heart to help myself. And then in turn, it seems that it helps other people that actually read it. And that to me is what success is in writing. And all of a sudden now, people are sharing my poems. I mean, 4 and 5 people are sharing them, and they're from all over the United States. I don't really know them. I'm in a number of different groups, and different groups react differently to different things. It's almost like I know which ones they like based on their past experience. But how I wrote that, it was probably, I was in that vein. I was in that, probably in that place of just wanting to be a better person myself, and to be that person that really understands others.
Yeah, so, I mean, I think it just you hit so many different things on that. And to me, it hit home because it just reminds you, make sure you're listening, put down the ego. And I think that's probably where you're hitting a lot of the people that are reading your book and what they're getting from that. And hopefully they're kind of, they're having that same thing as you are. And they're saying, hey, like, how do I better myself? How do I get myself to be better and to be a better person? The last was New Year 2021. You wrote it a couple of days before the new year turn there. Remind yourself of your why, becoming very specific. And that becoming, reminding yourself of your why is, to me, is huge in whatever profession you're in.
The why is extremely important. And I think sometimes because we in life have so many different failures, but you'll read a lot of different writers that will tell you that success is failing. And when you're able to tell yourself, what did I learn from this? Because there's always something we can learn. And then you take the next steps. It's that perseverance. It's that ability to never give up. It's that ability to know that I am on the right path. You got to believe in yourself. And like I'm really big about starting before you're ready, because I think we can overanalyze. I think we can overthink so many things. And if we don't start, we'll never get there. So it is just start. And, in 2021, let me see, what page was that? Let me see. I think I just saw that when
that was right on your website as well.
On my website. And the thing is, I can't even keep up with everything that I want to do. And there's just a few poems on there because I'm trying to figure out how to categorize all these poems and then to pick for the next book and then to keep track of what I'm writing now. I need a better process. I can tell you that right now, that I need a better process. But
I think you're doing pretty good.
Do you?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I don't feel like I'm doing.
You don't have to say that.
No, I agree. I mean, you look at the one you have on here, I will remember. And I think with the pandemic, a lot of people are still struggling, mentally, and to have that on there, to go about that, I think you probably hit a lot of nerves with people where they're saying, you know what, I appreciate the good words because he or she may be struggling on a day-to-day basis because of the pandemic. I mean, there's a lot going on, whether people are trying to reconnect in society after this is over, or hopefully it's over. And just getting through day to day, whether it's financially, mentally, physically. I mean, there's a lot going on. So your words must really hit home with some of these people where, this is great. You go on your website and see that, hey, I have a poem every day and something like that. Hey, I can get through my day now. Listen to just a little words of wisdom here or words of compassion.
Some people say to me, I can't believe you're inside my head. These are the words that I need to hear. And you wrote them. This is how I feel. And I'm like, wow, this is really sort of neat. It is neat to find that I'm impacting so many different people. And I'm going to really tell you, because what's so funny? This is what's really funny. Where's that book? I have so many books. But I wrote this, and when it came out on February 2nd. It was my birthday. So I figured I was going to write that part of the book, the preface in the book, on that day, because I knew it was going to come out on Valentine's Day. I wanted it to come out. And it was the next week that I took out of the library how to write poetry. And I said, isn't this ironic? I published a book. And now for the first time I take out of the library, the book tells me how to write poetry. And I thought, I don't know if I want to change the way I write it, but I suppose I should be a little bit more intelligent about what some poetry, is and does. And I thought, I laughed at myself when I did that, because I thought that was really funny that after I published a book, I took out the book to tell me how to write it. So I guess I would say the same for you guys. I mean, I think that you're taking a big step, the three of you together. I think it's wonderful. First of all, I like the fact that you're all friends. Second of all, I like the fact that you're still friends, and that you're taking
just acquaintances. Just acquaintances.
I can only imagine.
Super strong word.
Yeah, after this podcast, it may change.
Yeah, but this is really sort of neat, and you got nowhere to go but up, right? Look at all the things you just started, and I know that podcasts are the rage. I'm in a few groups that I listen to podcasts, so they're important. But I think you're limited only by your ability to think, geez, what is the next thing that we can do that's going to really be the best thing that we've done?
So before we forget, we talked about the name of the book, but let's just make sure we get out all your platforms, because sometimes we get ahead of ourselves and we forget it. So the book is From the Heart, Words of Hope and Inspiration to Soothe Your Soul. And I picked mine up at the Haverhill Library. So it's available at the Haverhill Library. It's available on Amazon. Your website, which is, tell me, it's Dianne
Tarpy,
M. Tarpy.
author.com.
Yeah.
M. Tarpy.
And we're going to push these out on our social platforms as well, Dianne, so people can see them. And is there any other way people can get a hold of you or see your work?
Or get a hold of your book? Is it just Amazon?
No, I have. Well, you can order it off my website too, and off of the website, I can even deliver the ones that are here in Haverhill. I've been doing that, but you can do it either way. My website is very easy. My Greg set that up really nice. That it's very easy to be able to just buy a book off my website. The difference is, what happened? I kept buying, like, say 25, 40 at a time. I kept selling them, and then the next thing, I have to wait 3 weeks. I think I started talking about this. Amazon sells, I can get my books from Amazon. They print on demand, but it takes 3 weeks for me to get them. You can order off of Amazon and it'll come in 3 days. So I decided I need to have a bigger surplus of books here with me for my website so I can give it, not make people wait. But you can order either one.
You're going to have the publishing company make another couple of thousand books when we're done here.
Oh, well, the publishing company, it's print on demand. So I'm really having Amazon print my books. My publishing company is the publishing company in name only. I am really not publishing. I could, though. See, that's the key. I wanted to give myself a lot of options with this. So this is how I read that I can give myself the most options, is that I had somebody format my book, but I am the publisher. And I gave, because of my beech tree out in front of my house, so it's Bradford Beech Tree Publishers. I set up my own little name here and got my IRS number that I needed. But essentially, it's just that I didn't want to put this in any other publisher's hands. So
Dianne, just so that we're clear and the listeners are clear, you of course do all the poetry.
Yeah.
You run your website. You kind of started the publishing company. Your son-in-law built the website, but other than that, your son built the website. Yeah. So you pretty much, this is pretty much everything that you do yourself. Your spare time when you're not doing your other stuff.
Well, in Susanna's books, who is my friend that I went to Norwich University with, she actually is a formatter and she did my cover. So she does this. She actually is a Cuban writer and she writes about Cuba, but a lot. But she's done other books too, covers. So I had her. She helped me. I would be indispensable without her. She certainly did a yeoman's job of helping me. And that's why I'm going back for my second book with her. And it will be a series. I'm going to write 3 in a series. And then my 4th will be a poem a day that I'm going to pull and put that together. My pictures that you see on Facebook and on Instagram are so beautiful and such a part of my poems, but it's cost prohibitive to put them in the book in color. But the one that's going to be a poem a day, I hope to be able to put all colored pictures in. So that's where I hope to grow to. But my pictures are very much a part of my poetry. And I have gone to people whose pitches that I enjoyed, some that I knew, some that I didn't. They've said yes. And so I have my favorite amateur picture photographers that I go to pair up my poems.
Yeah, I saw that on your website that you had recognized their names on the poems that you had you put the picture to. That's
every
nice.
day. Yes, yeah. Every day I do that.
Can you talk a little bit about some of the women's organizations that you're involved in? You were with Verizon, Wave Communications, and the Girls Club, and some of those other organizations that you've been a part of. That's on that long, lengthy resume list that you have there. Can you speak a little bit about that and some of the ones that are near and dear to your heart? And I'm sure they all are.
It was very important to me to be able to help women and mentor women. I set up one of the things that I was honored for some of my awards that were running national mentoring programs for women, especially in the corporation. That's so very important. It's part of what made me what I am today, are people who took an interest in me. So it was very important for me to be able to do that for others. So then once I was in a leadership position with Wave, I was able to do things that allowed me to give back to women. The other thing was Athena, which was one of the things when I was chairman of the board at the Chamber of Commerce. As I have already mentioned, my platform was leadership. And Athena is a national and international organization started in Battle Creek, Michigan, that recognizes those who perpetuate the work of women in the workplace. I was very happy to run that for 5 years in town here in Haverhill. And I went to a number of their conferences, and I sat on some of their national committees. And the chamber president, Sally Sarasolo O'Rourke, saw fit on the 5th year to honor me as an Athena Award recipient. So that was one of the crowning glories of certainly my life, was that, because it meant so much to me. And then I won a few awards with the work I did with that national program at WAVE. But back home, what was important to me was that if I could help, like Girls Inc., I was president there, talk about girls that really need helping hands. That certainly is one organization that does that. And all that I could do for understanding that in 1966, Haverhill High School did not have a women's varsity basketball team. So nothing makes me prouder to see my daughter be on a championship team, to see her now actually coaching girls at Haverhill High School, and to see my granddaughters playing at a game that we all loved, certainly. And we've come so far. So I think it's important to keep perpetuating how far we've come to ensure that we don't go backwards. So I am all for mentoring of any type of woman. And, because I've been in so many spotlights, I'd rather put somebody else in the spotlight now. I've had my share, but
You're not
You're
done
very
yet,
selfless.
Dianne.
You're a very selfless person.
But we're not done giving you your much deserved
recognition.
Right, so Dianne, my daughter just turned 14. What is some good advice you give to young women as they get into high school? What are some just high level words that you give?
I got them right here because I give them all the time to my own grandchildren. And sometimes I think I talk too much. And sometimes I think that how much do they hear? Maybe it's every other word. But I would tell any young girl that what do they want to do 5 years from now? Whatever that thing is, begin today. Begin today to do those things that will get you to that place. In 5 years. In 5 years, your daughter will be 19. She'll be graduated from high school. She'll be going into college. What college? What does she want to do? And the kids say, Nana, I don't know what I want to do. Guess what? I don't care if it's exactly what you want to do, but what is it that you like? What is it that makes you happy? Do more of it. What is it that you think you're good at? Do more of it. And just don't give up. Just stay in the arena that will help you to get where you might want to be. And that's tough for a 14-year-old to envision where she wants to be in 5 years. But I say that to my grandchildren all the time. Where do you want to be in 5 years? What do you want to do? How are we going to get there?
And I think about that advice with what you shared with us earlier. It's not, I don't know if I verbalize it correct exactly how you said it, but it's never too early to start.
It's never too early to start what it is that you really want to achieve. Yeah. We always don't give ourselves enough credit, and we try to overanalyze things. Yeah. Start before you're ready. I think those are my words.
Yes.
Start before you're ready, because once you start, then we talked about this already, that you're learning as you go, and you're thinking, you're finding out what's most important. Because sometimes things that are really important, or thought that were important, aren't important at all. So those are the things we learn together as we go through things. But Don't be afraid. And you know what happened? I lived in a very sheltered life. My father was a police officer in town. I couldn't even go to the Sacred Heart dance unless he was the policeman on duty. So I had a very sheltered life. And the more that my life grew, the more that I did, my circle widened. Before I knew it, I was going and doing things I never thought possible. I remember thinking, I'm going to be 49 years old to get a master's degree or not get a master's degree. That's not going to change. So I might as well go ahead and get my first master's degree at 49 years old. So that's what I did. And then I got another one after that. So, first of all, another thing I want to say, and especially if your 14-year-old daughter doesn't think she's smart, I want to tell you that I took a business course at Haverhill High School, and there were always a lot of kids who were so much smarter than me, and they made distinction, and they did this. I did honor roll, but I was never what I consider smart. As I went through life, I realized how really smart I was. And I never gave myself credit for that. So I'd like to open up to kids. And this is why I love being involved in the progress that kids make in all the organizations that I am involved in, I want them to know that they truly have a purpose, and that what they want to do and how they're going to do it, if they have the right mindset, the right opportunities in front of them with people who support them, it's limitless as to what anybody can achieve with those things. So
no, I think you nailed it. We're always our hottest critic, right? Everyone's you're always your own hottest critic. And Brian, don't you worry. We'll make sure your daughter gets in the most expensive college out there. We'll work on that.
Yeah, she's already said she wants to go to she wants to be a dermatologist and go to Stanford. So
those are lofty goals right there for her.
I know, but you know what?
Money is no object for Brian, so don't worry.
It's because I know this guy. It's because I know this guy named Derek, so he'll write the check. Such amazing words, and I'm going to tell her that. And I have my own saying. It's called being intentional and living with purpose, and I think it kind of aligns a little bit about some of the things that you've talked about, and really doing things. Don't just think about it. Don't just talk about it. Really put some actions behind your words. And I feel like we've done that a little bit with this podcast and our past guests, and certainly you, Dianne. You have such an incredible story. And I feel like there's so much more we can't cover because, but there's so much more. I feel you could.
We'll have to bring her back on for another episode.
Yeah, we're gonna have people back when we have as we go down these other roads. So a couple Chris Haverhill questions, Dianne.
Yeah.
Best Greek pizza.
Greek pizza. Greek pizza.
Best pizza. I don't mean to.
Best pizza. All right.
Pizza.
Yeah. Well, they're not in Haverhill. I like Piro's, or I like beef.
That's okay. Piro's?
Huh?
You can say Piro's and Methuen. That's all right.
I know.
Okay.
That's probably one of my favorites, to be honest with you. But
Are you going to say beach pizza?
Yeah, I like beach pizza. I do.
Guilty.
I do. Honest to God, I do. And I like crispy. It's got to have a crispy crust.
And Dianne, what's the best place in Haverhill for you to go to where you feel like you can really get inspired and get deep in thought and really be creative? Is it at home? Is it Winnie Kinney? Is there any specific location that you go?
It's so funny. My Tyler says to me, he walked in one day and he said, Nana, your chair is going to be in the Smithsonian as the place where Dianne Tarpy wrote her poems. Well, I write from my chair. I have a nice recliner. I look out at the window. So every morning that's where I write. But I can tell you honestly that if you let me anywhere near the water, the words just flow out of my mind. I like, so I like, Canosa, any of that, any water that I can be near, certainly serves to help inspire me for whatever reason. So it's usually the water, but around Canosa is a beautiful, beautiful area and easy to write. Well,
Dianne, I feel like we've covered so much, but we haven't covered so many things. But we know everyone's time is so limited. We so much appreciate you coming on. And again, the name of the book is From the Heart. Dianne Tarpy. You can find her on her website, which is again it's Dianne with 2 N's.
That's correct.
M Tarpy, Tarpy, author.com. She's on Facebook. You can I think it's one of the Haverhill websites. She pushes out a poem every day, and I love reading it. And we're going to put some of her own social media on the Three Guys Facebook page, so you can be there as well. We're so glad you came on, and we're gonna have you back. And we have something for you too. We have our Three Guys mug. So we're gonna after this we'll get your address, or we can meet up somewhere, and I'll give you our we call it merch, our Three Guys merch. So we'll make sure that as you're writing, you can have your coffee. And I, one of the last things if Derek and Brett are done, I want to read one of your poems, and it's one of the ones that I think Derek mentioned. So if you don't mind, I'm gonna read it.
Yep, that would be wonderful.
It's called "I Will Remember." You wrote it. Sounds like everything's date related. So you wrote this one end of December. It goes, okay, here we go. It goes, this pandemic, I will remember the quiet and wishing there was conversation. I will remember the uncertainty and wishing for confidence. I will remember everyone moving slowly and marvel that it was so. I will remember the quarantine and sickness, statistics and tests. I remember the ache in my heart, the sadness, because I love people and a good hug, but stay 6 feet away. But then I think, hold on, be strong. You got this. This too will pass. The laughter, the hugs, life as once we knew it will return. It will get better. While the lessons the pandemic has taught will remain. I think that's outstanding.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dianne.
That's
Pleasure
awesome.
is mine to be here with the three of you.
Yes, thank you very much.
No, the honor is mine, and I can't wait to watch our success. And we'll have success together as we move forward. And again, it's an honor and a pleasure to be here with you.
You are
Thank you
very
again.
inspiring and motivating and positive, and we need more people like you out there, seriously. And
Absolutely.
I definitively want to get you back on at some point, sometime in the near future, because I do have more questions. So yeah, thank you so much, and it's our pleasure to have you here. And congratulations on the book and everything you've done, and your children, your grandchildren, and the more to come.
Hopefully your next book we'll be talking to you. You'll be on a private island with your little drink and a little umbrella in there, and you can tell us how you have made it big. And
Yeah,
That'd be nice.
you can give us like the passcode how to get to you.
That's right.
Sure, I will. Thank you all so much.
Thank you
Thank you,
very much.
Dianne.
again.
Have a wonderful
care.
evening.
Yeah, have a
Thank
great
you.
night.
Bye-bye.
bye.
Yeah, all our guests are different, right? So the first guest was Joe. He talks about his acting and how his career got to it. And the second guest was Mike. And he talks about the services he provides. And now you have the third guest whose resume is just outstanding. And
But one of the things that I noticed, Eric, and I don't know, Brett, maybe you can touch on this, and I think I mentioned it in one of our early episodes when we were talking about sort of what we envisioned for this. And the one thing I feel like Joe, Mike, and Dianne had is they had a passion, an incredible passion about what they do. And if you put them three in a room, they're three completely different personalities, three completely different people. They probably wouldn't gravitate towards each other. But you think about what they do and how hard they work, and that's key, is their desire to want to be successful. And I was thinking about what she was saying in terms of, even if you're not ready, do it. That's what she said.
Mhm.
And with this podcast, we weren't ready to do it.
No.
We're not experts. There's probably people listening to this saying, this person's doing that wrong, this person's doing that. But you know what? It's all about starting. And that's what I took away from her. And the last thing for me when we were talking about the podcast is just taking one thing away. And whether it was from Joe, Mike, and now Dianne, there's no doubt. I wrote down a couple of things, and I can't wait to have her back. I bought the book for my mom and my wife's mom, and so they're going to be getting it, and yeah, really, really awesome. So I'm glad she joined us.
Yeah, she brought some very interesting just things to the table. I mean, and there's so much, and the positivity, and again, like I said, you need more people like her in the world, and having leaders like that. And I'm just blown away, and just the poems and some of the words and the meaning in there. And I'm sure everyone kind of takes their own meaning from it, but asking yourself that why, that's something we're all doing, and you always have to do. And kind of, yeah, I don't know. I'm just kind of out of words on this one.
Yeah. This was a great episode, and it's good. The guest made it great, and that's what you want. And hopefully everyone listens and they gain some inspiration and motivation and buy her book and just go from there. Because I mean, you look at her resume, and I'm telling you, no joking aside, it's amazing. When she said that she look at it, I can believe it, because once you step back and take a look at it, it stands out.
when you read the words, I guess like anything you read in poetry, especially when you really read it and you process the meaning behind what she's saying. You know, we've talked a lot about the pandemic and how each of us was affected, and our friends and our businesses, but you know, you can sense her feelings behind what she's trying to say. So it hits, you know, from her story on 9/11 to these, you know, it all comes to me. She's a very genuine person. Those are tough people sometimes to find nowadays.
Without a doubt. And you know, Brian, if you don't make it as a salesperson, you can definitely do poetry at the local library. You tell a great story. I mean, the way you were saying into it, I felt the emotion. I was really into it. I said, Brian means it. I can feel like you're getting a little sad, but at the same time, happy.
It was tough. It was tough to. Yeah. No, I know you're being serious. You are.
No. I was. No, I'm serious.
I know you are. Well, you know, I was thinking about all my friends that most of my friends I work with who haven't worked in a year, and how what she wrote was really talking about what was going on, and it just brought a bunch of thoughts to my head as I was reading it. I'm sure with you guys too. So,
yeah. Well, Brian, why don't you take it home?
Well, thank you to all the listeners and all the downloads. We're really crushing the numbers that we thought we were going to do. And for those of you who have people who have stories that you want to tell, please contact us. We're easily reached. You guys know how to reach us on Facebook and or on Insta and on all these other platforms. So again, thank you very much. Thank you again to Dianne. The name of her book is From the Heart. Google it and you'll be able to find it. So thank you very much.
And I think that's it for the episode. We will end. Have a great night.
Thank you to the team at 78 Brutsky Productions for putting together another great show of the Three Guys podcast. And also to our listeners, we appreciate your support.